Done like a lot of like completely different things. So I have experience building apps for your iPhone, for example. I worked as a casino dealer, right, dealing blackjack and roulette and stuff. I've done, like I just mentioned, I've done sales, and every single one of those things. I've written a novel. Every single thing has taught me skills which I'm using right now. Hasselbaink.
Great. So, Gavin, you're up here in Chiang Mai, Thailand. What brings you to Chiang Mai, Thailand?
Yeah. So the reason that I'm in Chiang Mai is, which is in Thailand, is because I can work from anywhere in the world, and I didn't want to work from the Netherlands, which is my home country, but instead go to a different culture, meet new people, see new places, and that's what brought me here.
Great. So, what does it mean to be in Chiang Mai, Thailand? I mean, you mentioned digital nomads. Can you tell me a little bit about, do you consider yourself to be a digital nomad?
Kinda, yes.
Okay.
The reason that I would consider myself a digital nomad is because I'm working abroad, and I have traveled, or I do travel every once in a while. But right now I'm planning to stay here for 3 to 6 months, which is for quite a long time for a digital nomad. So I'm not an actively traveling digital nomad, but I do work from another country, which is a little bit.
So how would you define a digital nomad?
Someone who travels while working.
Okay. And so how did you end up choosing Chiang Mai in particular? What is there a set of criteria that you look for in your choice?
So when I look for a place to work from, wherever it may be in the world, I'm going to the nomadlist.com, which is a website which lists like all kinds of digital nomad places where a lot of digital nomads are, and it also lists specifics on what you might find important in a place that you go to, right? So for example, whether it's LGBTQ friendly, whether it's how it scores on racism, how cheap it is, the weather, whatever it may be, right? And they give you a ranking themselves as well, but they also give specifics. So I go through that list. I find something that I find important, which are, for example, these things that I just mentioned. And then I picture myself living there. And if I can picture myself living there and working there, then I'll go here.
So where are you from? And tell us a little bit about your upbringing and where you're from.
All right, yeah, so I am from the Netherlands. I'm from Amsterdam. Lived in Haarlem for a while, which is, or actually I grew up in Haarlem, which is right next to Amsterdam. And on my upbringing, I was brought up by two parents. I have a little sister and a little brother who are 19 and 8. Wow, that took long. 19 and 8 years old. So quite a big difference. Always been the big brother. Studied communication sciences, really interested in communication and persuasion and the way that language works and how it impacts other people. And myself, also very, very, very interesting. So this whole psychology part of it. Worked in sales for a really long time. Worked as a croupier for about 3 years. Built a few startups. Yeah, that's a little bit about me.
So it sounds like that you have a little experience under your belt. How has that experience? What have you learned from those experiences that bring what you do now into consideration?
A lot, like literally everything that I've done, and I've done like a lot of like completely different things. So I have experience building apps for your iPhone, for example. I worked as a casino dealer, right, dealing blackjack and roulette and stuff. I've done, like I just mentioned, I've done sales, and every single one of those things. I've written a novel. Every single thing has taught me skills which I'm using right now. For example, if we're taking the casino thing, right, which seems the farthest away from what I'm doing right now. Right now, by the way, I'm working in business development in the Web3 space. When you're working in a casino and when you're a croupier, even though you're working for someone else, there is a lot going at the same time. You have a lot of responsibility because you're working with a lot of money. Working under stress it's also something that might happen right now if I'm doing an AMA or if I'm being interviewed or something, and I don't immediately know, or if I'm doing this and I don't immediately know the question. But because I've been in the spotlight for so long, for 3 years, I'm kind of used to that, and that makes it easier for me to do stuff like this right now.
How would you describe your skills? If you were to name them, how would you describe them?
I consider myself a generalist. Although I'm also, like, I know a lot about psychology. I'm very, very interested in psychology as well, and in persuasion. So that's what I definitely focus on, but I'm very broadly interested.
What does it mean to be a generalist? Because I actually know a little bit about this, but so what do you fit under generalist in terms of some key capabilities and skills?
Under key capabilities and skills. So what I would say is, actually, I don't know if I would consider myself a generalist. The reason that I just said that is because I'm very broadly interested. So, and because I'm interested and I get excited about a lot of different things, I end up doing a lot of different things as well. And that develops your skills broadly because you get into contact with completely different people. If you, for example, know that you are fully interested in persuasion, and you know that from the age of 7, and from 7 until 50 you work in persuasion, in sales, for example, then not only you're developing skills within sales, but also the network tend to be the same kind of people. Whereas if you do other stuff, like your network also going, and those are the people that you learn a lot from as well, right? With every interaction you learn, so even if you don't know it. So I think that makes you more of a generalist than if you would just do one thing for your whole life.
So, digital nomads, they're out in the world a lot, and they're commonly involved in areas that are fast moving, like technology. So, as a digital nomad, how do you learn? I mean, what are some of the ways in which you develop your learning, your knowledge, and your skills?
All right, so some ways that I develop my learning skills are like the normal ways, the ways that I also did when I was back home, right? Reading books, going through the internet, a bunch of information over there, doing courses. But something uniquely to digital nomad kind of life that you can't do while you're at home is the completely different types of people that you meet everywhere, right? If you're in Barcelona, depending on where you go, of course, but like if you're in Barcelona, you tend to meet a different kind of people than if you go to Chiang Mai. And everyone you talk to, you can learn from. Every new specialization that's out there that you're having an interaction with, if you're genuinely interested, that is, you'll learn something from it. And that's something specific to digital nomading that we don't get if we don't give that a shot.
So, can you give me an example of that you mentioned before?
Yeah, definitely. So an example of how I'm learning through my digital nomad life is that when I came here, I'm right now in Yellow, which is in Chiang Mai, which turned out to be like a Web3 kind of workplace. And there's this one guy here who is like really knowledgeable on tokenomics, right? I myself, I work in DeFi, in business development. So I do a lot of research, like that's part of my job description. But that being said, tokenomics is a very specific part of it, and it's very specialistic knowledge. Right now, I'm working a lot together with someone here who has that specific specialization, right? I have my own office, and he comes in here and he helps me with that. We talk together about that a lot. And just talking through it, like discussing ideas, discussing what he thinks, what he believes, and also explaining what I think, what I believe, and why I believe it. I believe that is the best way to learn. Not only about him and about what he thinks, but also about what I actually think. Right, so, and again, that's something that you can't do if you're only with the same group of people all the time.
Great. So, digital nomads, so do they work from the morning to the evening? What type of hours do digital nomads keep? I mean, what's their kind of way of being? Because if they're traveling to all these cool places, I mean, obviously they want to kind of embrace the culture too. How does that balance take place?
Right. So the work-life balance for digital nomad, it differs per person a lot. I've met people who start at 1 and they end at 5, and they make a living off of that, and that's amazing. And that the rest of the time they spend to like explore where they are, right? And they travel around, and they also meet a lot of new people, see a lot of new places. Myself, what I'm doing right now, sorry. So myself, I'm working from one place right now. My focus right now is not so much on exploring. We're in a very important part of our, like we're doing a fundraise right now. And because that's so important for our business, right now my focus lies on working way more than anything else. So my social battery gets refilled by doing this in a co-working space. But apart from that, like I spend a lot of my time working. I do wake up quite late at about 12 p.m. Do some workouts, start eat something, start working, and since most of the people that we're getting to invest are living in the United States of America, which is 12-hour difference, most of my calls there are at like 10 p.m., 11 p.m. my last calls. And then after that, I play some ukulele and I go to sleep.
So you mentioned courses before. So how do you determine what type of courses you want to take, and what are the type of platforms that you access those from?
Right. So so the types of courses that I take, it completely depends on what I'm focusing on at that point in time. Like 9 months ago, for example, I wanted to learn. Like I'm really into coding as well. I'm really interested in that, which definitely helps if you're working in Web3. But then I did like coding courses. Right now, I'm doing business development, which is a lot of persuasion. Like I said, we're going into our funding round right now. We're raising funds for our business, so I need to like step back up on my persuasion part. So, for example, Chris Voss has some courses on like with the Black Swan Group that I'm following right now. You have a Grant Cardone, who's like from the United States of America as well, really big guy, also into sales. Not specifically my types of sales necessarily, but again, you learn so much even from people who you don't fully agree with. So those are the types of courses that I'm taking right now.
Would you recommend, for students that are in college and they're just taking courses, what would you recommend for them to totally take advantage of their college experience? Because I'll leave it there.
Yeah, so that's really interesting. Like if you're a college student, what should you take advantage of the most? I took a relatively long time like to go through college. It took me like 5 years for a bachelor's, where other people would do it in 3 years. Reason it took me 5 years was because I realized, that's how I see it, I realized that I could use a lot of free time. I have zero responsibilities. I don't have children. I don't have, if I have enough to eat, I'm good, right? I also need a place to live. My rent was €150 a month, easily. So with the free time, like you can spend that watching Netflix or whatever, you can also spend that improving your skills. So I started a few businesses in college, knowing that if they would fail, no harm done at all. I would just learn. So taking advantage of this freedom that you have right there. I think I also mentioned this before, but everything that I've done, I've learned from. And what I'm doing right now and what I'm making right now is because of the experience that I got going through college and not being afraid of making mistakes. And I made a bunch of mistakes, and I still make mistakes, and I love it, right? Because that's how you grow. So, and these mistakes are way more easily made when you're in college, when you are allowed to make mistakes, when you have parents who you can fall back on if needed, than if you're 30, 40, 50 years old.
So, Gavin, what are your superpowers? If you walked into any space, what do you know for sure will have an impact on people, the environment that you walk into? What are your superpowers?
My superpower, something that I know that once I go into a room that will get people's attention and that people will want to know more about, is influence. And not everyone immediately, and with influence I mean persuasion. And there's like a negative connotation with selling, which is why I didn't call it that, but you can all interchange it for one another. At the end of the day, selling, persuasion, influence is something that's all around us, and every form of communication, and I know it, I am a communication scientist, every form of communication is a form of influence, and it's a form of persuasion. Like always. So if you're skilled in influence, I believe you can do anything. You can get anywhere.
So what is the future? What can we imagine a future for Gavin? I mean, what does that look like? I know that you're steep in your business right now, but we're humans. What do we, what type of a future do you imagine for yourself as you be in this world?
Yeah, definitely. So actually, I started like getting fully. Okay, so let me rephrase. When I think about my future and especially my near future, when I started like fully committing to setting a goal, it was 1 year ago. And 1 year ago, I decided almost in 9 days. 1 year ago, I decided within 2 years, I will either have $1 million in cash or a business valued $1 million, which is way easier, of course, than the cash, right? And I started fully committing to it. And with fully, I mean like 15 hours a day, 7 days a week. People thought I was crazy. Did that for months, and I found out that I'm way ahead of track right now. So when I look in the future, and that's my first goal, right? Money is the first goal. The second goal is to make up for the time that I'm sacrificing right now. Because if you're doing like 15 hours a day, then you don't have time for, or less time for social, for family. And at the end of the day, like that, I believe is the most important thing that there is, right? So like the whole goal of money is getting the freedom to do those things. So as soon as I am like completely independent, and $1 million is not going to cut it. So in total, I'm taking 4 years for that, completely independent. Then the rest of my life will be spent with family, surfing. I would love to surf, picking up new skills like that, and focusing on self-development.
Great. But Gavin, I want to thank you for your time. This has been a great interview. Is there anything else any last thing that you want to share with the world that you think that will bring value to it?
Phil, go for it. Take risks, like by far. Like especially, you just mentioned that there are a lot of college students watching this. Go and take risks. If you have like a family to fall back on, even a little bit, go for it. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. You either learn or you win. Those are the options.
Awesome.